This is the beginning of my telling again the dove story, which was a story given to me by Spirit. First of all, I want to say what the inspiration was for the dove story. And you're looking at her. This is Peace-Pilgrim. And I just got this off of the internet, pictures of her. I never ever met her in person. But I did go to the Peace-Pilgrim Center in Hemet, California. And I met the people who had known her when she was alive and who sent out all of her many books that had been written about her. That not that she wrote them, but people that were friends of hers wrote these books of her words, her many talks that she gave before different people. I tried to write this, what I would say, so I will read what I wrote, and then I'm just going to go into just speaking without reading what I speak. I find that so much more, well, it's a little bit scary because you don't know what's going to come out of you. And I'm always thinking I'm going to lack for words. So I'll read this part. This is Peace-Pilgrim, and Peace-Pilgrim is the inspiration for the story that was given to me by Spirit back in 1998. She walked thousands of miles for peace and vowed to walk until given shelter and fast until given food. In a significant way, her story started me on my journey to find my purpose. Peace knew her purpose. I never even had heard of her until one day when I was browsing about in a thrift store looking in their book section. I came across a book about Peace-Pilgrim, and in the back of the book was the address for a Peace-Pilgrim Center. I was happy to see that this center was in the city I lived in, and so I decided to go there and check it out. Actually, it was not a center in the sense that it was a big public place, but was a very modest home of two people, Ann and John Rush, who ran this center out of their own home. They had converted their garage to house all the many books that they sent out free of charge to anyone who asked. I began to frequent their home, for there were always very interesting people there, and I felt welcome there. One day at the Peace-Pilgrim Center. Now I'm going to show you this picture. What you see is little tiny cranes being folded. Now one day at the Peace-Pilgrim Center, there was a lady there. She had folded these little tiny cranes, and she had 1,000 of them, all different colors, and she wore them on a necklace around her neck. 1,000 tiny folded, origami folding of the crane. And I had to hear her story for sure. And so what she told me was the story about Sadeko and the 1,000 cranes. And that was the reason for her necklace. Here's another picture of Peace-Pilgrim walking. She walked everywhere she went, unless she had to be at a meeting, and then she would take a car ride to get there in time. Now, below this is a picture I got off the internet of Sadeko. And let me tell you a little bit about her. You can find much about her. Just Google in Sadeko and the 1,000 cranes, and you will find very much about her. And this is the crane. This is what I will be folding for you and showing you a story that Spirit gave me with the folding of this square of paper into a crane. Only in my story, it gets changed to that of the dove. It will be called the dove instead of the crane. Now, the story of Sadeko is that she was just a baby, a couple of years old, when the bomb that hit Hiroshima devastated her country and, well, her city, and she was affected by it from the fallout that came down on so many people. And she, at the age of about 10 or so, came down with what they called the bomb disease, which was a real kind of fast-acting leukemia-type cancer. And no one seemed to ever survive it when they got that. And she was so happy to be alive, and she loved running, and she was on a relay team, and she just was quite the tomboy. But she wanted to live so bad. And she had a little friend who told her the story about, well, it wasn't a story, it was a belief they had about folding cranes. And she said, if you could fold 1,000 cranes, then you could have granted any wish you wanted. And Sadeko believed this and wanted it to work for her, so she set in folding cranes. And she folded quite a few, over 600, so the story goes, before she became too sick to fold anymore and had to go into the hospital. And there she folded only a few more, but her brother would hang them from the ceiling, so it looked like birds in her room hanging from the ceiling. And so she died of that leukemia. But her story of her belief that she could fold those 1,000 cranes and get the wish to live granted became such a popular story because it was true, and because we all wish for war to end and there not to be little girls' lives or anyone's lives that have to be done away with because of war. And so this folding of the crane, people all around the world, they fold cranes. You can see in this picture, this is a statue of Sadeko. And there are draped around her strings of folded cranes. And here's another statue of her. I'm going to make this big so I can have more on the page. And there she's holding some more on this statue. And I will just be showing you pictures of folded cranes while I speak. So there is a lot of energy in the folding of the crane for peace. And so I was thinking that would be a wonderful symbol for the people of the world, because it already has been. Children all over the world are told this story in their classes, sometimes at school, and they fold cranes and send them to Japan, to these monuments, to be put around the monument. And I have learned to fold the crane. And you can't fold just one. It's like eating chips. You can't eat just one. Well, when you fold one, you want to fold another, and another, and another. And look at all these. Really colorful. That's all folded cranes of every color. Here's some more. Well, I was, at first, when I heard the story, I thought, wow, that's a unique story, and I would love to learn how to fold the crane. And so the lady that had folded the 1,000 tiny ones for her necklace, she showed me. She was very patient. It took 7 times. She had to show me 7 times before I got it right and could do it on my own. But anyway, what I did was I went home and I thought, oh, I'm going to forget this. And at the time, I didn't know about all the different videos out there that show you how to fold the crane that you can find on YouTube. At the time, I just said, well, I'm going to put the folds of this, while I can recall what they are, into a notebook. So I did, and I put different folds on different pages. I don't know why I did it that way. I could have put more than one on a page, but for some reason, that's the way I did it. And I had all these instructions for if ever the day came that I wanted to fold the crane again, and I didn't remember, I could go to this notebook and see. So the day came that I was doing some kind of busy work, trying to get something done, and I thought, I really just want to play, and I want to fold cranes. And I had never done automatic writing before in such a way. I had dabbled at it, but it just seemed like it was just me. It wasn't something coming through me. But the day that I got out all those papers, well, the notebook full of papers with all the different folds of the crane, my hand just started using the pencil to write on each page a story that didn't come from me. It came from spirit in me. And it came very fast. I just started writing on each page. A story began unfolding. And at first I was told it would be called The Dove Story. And I guess I can take the license to say, oh, now the crane is the dove, but it's a bird. You know, the dove is a bird that it represents peace. So I see the importance of calling it The Dove Story. But the fold in it are the actual folds for the crane. And a most beautiful, beautiful story came. After I wrote it all down on all the different pages, I would turn from page to page and my hand would just write more and more. And then I didn't realize what all I had written because it didn't come from me thinking about what I was going to write. So I had to go back and read it all. And I was amazed at the story that came through all the different folds in the process of folding a square of paper into a crane dove. I call it the crane dove now. And this story I want to relate to people. I want to get people started folding cranes and doves. And I want them to know the story behind it. The story of Sadako and the Thousand Cranes, which they can look that one up and read it right off of the internet. It's a very wonderful story to tell children, especially because you can have them fold the crane and they have an interactive story. And this is going to be what I hope to call the Dove Story musical. And I say that because there's great opportunity for those of you who are listening to this who have talent in the way of being able to use computer graphics or in the way of making up songs and singing them and playing instruments and doing so many different things. You could contribute to this musical called The Dove Story that I hope to get going. I've been a bit scared about getting it started, thinking, oh, well, maybe nobody will see this as important. But it's not really my story, it's God's story. It came through me, and I can't help but think it might just get popular and might be something that can help people find out what are the differences that we have that keep us from having peace. And I want to talk a little bit about origami. These are a few pictures of some of the things you can make out of paper. Of course, you have to be an origami expert to do this. I've never tried anything much more than just the crane, which is a really very simple one. But the origami is a very sacred art, and they don't use scissors and they don't use tape. They just fold. And they come up with some beautiful things. Almost anything you can think of, they can fold it. And I'll show you some of the pictures I have of origami. See, this one looks like a bug, and it's all paper. It's all made out of paper. And God uses light to fold and unfold and refold. So that's an origami specialty that God is. Only He's folding light. And we're folded light. All of us are. And when you see what origamists can create by folding paper, you can imagine that folding something like light, which is, well, indescribably small, how that could be a sacred thing. And mathematics enters into the folding of paper. And mathematics is in the art that God uses of folding all life out of light. Here's one that's a skeleton. Not a real accurate skeleton, and here's one that is a nauticus. And look at this one. Looks like a man's face, but that's made of folded paper. So origami to me is a very sacred art because it's like the art of folding light. And God folds and refolds and unfolds, it says in the Divine Iliad, written by Walter Russell. I'll show you a few more of the things. So that's all I have. Now I'm going to go back up here and read you what Walter Russell said. The unfolding, refolding principle. The two opposite electric expressions of desire of mind unfold all idea of mind from its pattern in the seed into imaged forms to simulate the ideal of mind and refold it back into its recorded pattern in the seed for again unfolding. Each one unbalances the other in order that each may seek balance in the other to disappear and reappear as the other. Positive electricity is the father light, which gravitates toward a point of rest which centers all creating things. Negative electricity is the mother light, which radiates toward planes of the one light at rest, which bound all wave fields of motion. Positive electricity winds the light of motion into dense solids around points of still magnetic light. It compresses motion into incandescent spheres surrounded by the vacuity of negative electricity. Negative electricity unwinds the light of motion from dense solidity to tenuous vacuity by expanding it into cubic wave fields of space. Positive electricity pulls inward spirally from within against the opposing resistance of negative electricity, which thrust outward spirally from within. This two-way radial universe of seeming motion is the product of these two opposed electric conditioners of matter, which pass through each other in opposite directions. Each interchanges with the other in sequential pulsations as they pass through each other from points of gravity to wave-filled boundaries and back again in endless cycles. Each becomes the other at halfway rest points of their cycles. Now, I just read this because this is a very scientific, if you think in the kind of science that God uses. It doesn't set aside man's science. It just, how can I say this? It just encompasses it and overrides it because it speeds it up. And in some cases it speeds it up. In some cases man's science is completely wrong. But God can be understood scientifically. And spirit is not in opposition to science when science is understood rightly. The two are the same thing. God is a law, and a law is scientifically understood. And I don't want this video to be so much about all of this science because some people can't understand that and it kind of bores them. Others, though, are real interested in it. And all they have to do is check out my playlist because I read Walter Russell's books. I read The Secret of Light, very informative. And I read the Divine Iliad 1 and the Divine Iliad 2. And also the Universal one, which has a lot of graphs. And you really have to be of a scientific bend to understand that book. I read it and didn't understand it, but I believed that what I was reading was true because I had that intuition that it was. Nothing that I can prove, but just a great gut feeling that Walter Russell had a correct understanding. And he was getting words from God. God gave him the words to write, and he wrote them down faithfully. So you might want to check out those books on my playlist. But now to get back to the dove story. And I will make this my number one, the Dove Story, and call it the Dove Story, the musical. I hope that I can inspire people as I tell the story and I show what the potential is for people to write, and to write stories and to write poems and write songs and do computer graphics and illustrate this. Help me with this. Get it going on the internet to make it something people will notice, a lot of people will notice. I hope and pray for that to be what becomes of this. So I won't begin telling the Dove Story until my next video. And so be aware that it will be coming up next, and I will be showing the folding of the crane dove. It's really very simple to fold. So I look forward to talking to you again in part 2 of the Dove Story, the musical.